Hello everyone, welcome to the National Press Theatre this Monday morning. I'm Paul McLeod with the Halifax Chronicle Herald. I'll be chairing the meeting. I'm here, of course, with Banque du Canada Governor Mark Carney, Finance Minister Jim Flaherty, and Mr. Flaherty will kick things off with an announcement.
Good morning, bonjour. Thank you for coming today on what is short notice. It is my pleasure to announce today some, although bittersweet, positive news for Canadians. Positive in that it is yet another clear sign that Canada and the way we handle our economic affairs are being held up as a model for the world to follow. So I'm here with my colleague, Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney, to announce that Governor Carney has accepted the appointment as Governor of the Bank of England. Je suis ici avec mon collègue, le gouverneur de la Banque du Canada, Mark Carney, que annoncer que M. Carney a accepté le poste de gouverneur de la Banque d'Angleterre. I first of all want to, of course, offer my congratulations to Governor Carney on this important appointment. I also wish to thank the governor on behalf of our government and all Canadians for his work at the Bank of Canada. Since Governor Carney's appointment at the Bank of Canada in February 2008, the world has seen the deepest economic crisis since the Great Depression of the 1930s and the long, slow, and fragile recovery that has followed. Governor Carney has been an invaluable support, first as my Senior Associate Deputy Minister at the Department of Finance, and then after we appointed him as Governor. I appreciate the work he has done and the advice he has given to keep Canada's economy strong, protect Canadian jobs, and maintain the stability of our monetary system. Je lui suis reconnaissant du travail qu'il a accompli et des conseils qu'il a donnés pour aider l'économie canadienne à rester vigoureuse pour protéger les emplois au Canada et pour maintenir la stabilité de notre système monétaire. Indeed, Canada's economic and fiscal resilience during this period has been the strongest in the G7 and the envy of many in the international community. Likewise, this appointment, which marks the first time a foreign national has headed the Bank of England, is another strong example that Canada's monetary and fiscal systems serve as models to the world. While other countries have faced significant turbulence, our financial system has consistently been ranked as the soundest in the world. Mark's abilities and efforts in this regard were recognized with his recent appointment as chair of the International Financial Stability Board, a position he will maintain in his new role. Governor Carney will continue to serve as Governor of the Bank of Canada until June 1st, 2013, before taking up his new post at the Bank of England on July 1st, 2013. In the meantime, the usual practice for selection and appointment of the Governor of the Bank of Canada will be followed. The Board of Directors of the Bank of Canada will shortly form a special committee comprised of independent directors whose mandate will be to undertake a recruitment process for the selection of the next governor. Candidates for Governor of the Bank of Canada are recommended by the independent directors and appointed by the Minister of Finance and the Federal Cabinet. Avant de laisser la parole à mon ami, je veux conclure en souhaitant au gouverneur Carney tout le succès possible dans son nouveau rôle et le remercier encore une fois pour sa contribution au Canada. Before turning the mic over to my friend, Governor Carney, to say a few words, I want to close by wishing Mark the best in his new role and thanking him again for his major contribution to Canada. Governor.
Thank you very much, Minister. Good morning, everyone. I'm honored to accept this important and demanding role, and I'm honored to succeed Sir Mervyn King, with whom I have worked closely over these past 5 years and from whom I have learned so much. This is a critical time for the British, European, and global economies. It's a decisive period for reform of the global financial system, including its leading financial center, the City of London. And it's a crucial point in the Bank of England's history as it accepts vital new responsibilities. Ce fut un privilège d'occuper la fonction de 8e gouverneur de la Banque du Canada. Je suis fier de la contribution apportée par la Banque à la résilience de l'économie canadienne tout au long d'une période sans précédent de turbulence à l'échelle du globe. La Banque aide à diriger la réforme du système financier mondial. Elle met actuellement en circulation les billets de banque les plus perfectionnés du monde. Et, en tant qu'agent financier du gouvernement du Canada, elle fournit des services bancaires et de gestion financière d'une fiabilité et d'une résilience à toute épreuve. Canadians can be confident that such leadership will continue. The depth and quality of the bank's human resources, the dedication of its employees, and the clarity of its strategic vision will ensure that the bank will continue to promote the economic and financial welfare of all Canadians. J'aimerais remercier le conseil d'administration de la Banque du Canada, le ministre des Finances, Jim Flaherty, et le Premier ministre, Stephen Harper, de m'avoir offert cette possibilité de servir le Canada. And in particular, I'd like to note that Minister Flaherty and I have enjoyed a close and effective partnership as Canada has faced enormous challenges over the past 7 years that we've worked together. His leadership has ensured a timely, coordinated response to the crisis, the right measures to promote Canada's G7 leading recovery, and the tough decisions necessary to keep the Canadian economy on the path to sustainable growth. It's been an immense pleasure working with him, and I'll miss the camaraderie and the clear sense of purpose. In closing, I just note that I've served to the best of my abilities, and I'm humbled by the support that I've received both from my colleagues at the bank and from Canadians across this great country. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. We will now open the floor to some questions. First one from Randall Palmer from Reuters.
Mr. Flaherty, Randall Palmer from Reuters. You've expressed pride in Canada's governor being picked for this post. Is it not a loss, a big loss? Will it not damage Canada's conduct and monetary policy? And Mr. Carney, if I can ask you, did you have to give any sort of commitment not to leave the Bank of Canada position, Bank of England position for the Liberal Party of Canada, for example?
Wow. Okay, covered a lot of ground there. You know, as I said in my remarks, it's bittersweet. I mean, it's important for the world financial system that Mark is doing what he's doing at the chairing the Financial Stability Board, which, as you know, is an appointment by the G20, and it is our loss. Of course, it is. Mark has been a superb governor of the Bank of Canada for more than 5 years, and so his loss will be felt.
In terms of the institution, I'll just reiterate what I said at the start, which is this is an incredibly deep, strong institution. The Bank of Canada will continue to serve Canadians, continue to provide the excellence that Canadians expect, and merit the confidence that the Canadians have in the bank. And in Canada, very importantly, I'm very confident that the bank, the Department of Finance, OSFI, CDIC, CMHC, all the agencies, the federal agencies that have responsibility for the effectiveness and the resilience of our system will continue to work together as effectively as they have in the past. In terms of your second question, I have to say that didn't come. Look, I've accepted this responsibility at the Bank of England at a decisive time, a time of great consequence for that economy, for global financial reform. I will remain as chairman of the Financial Stability Board. That will reinforce those efforts in the City of London, the most important global financial center, but also here in Canada. And there's a lot of work to be done. The 5-year term is the opportunity to see through the path of that reform, to see through the transition and the rebalancing of the UK economy, and also to relaunch the Bank of England with its much expanded and vital responsibilities.
We'll move on to Richard Madden, CTV.
Hi, question for both Minister Flaherty and Governor. I'll start with Governor. You've been asked before whether you would be taking this job or not. I remember I asked you, and I'll never forget the look you gave me. So my question to you is, what made you change your mind?
Yeah.
And then I'll have a follow-up question to Minister Flaherty.
Well, yeah, I have been asked before about this, and you did ask me, and I would say this is been a longer conversation. It's been an on and off process. And when I was asked, every time I've been asked, it has been an off process. I didn't apply as part of the formal process to the position. These discussions really only intensified in the last 2 weeks. And I will say what changed my view on doing this is that I had an opportunity to reflect on where this institution stood, where the Bank of Canada stood, where our financial system stood, where our economy stood, and all the strengths that are there, and all the sense of purpose that is there, and the unity and cohesiveness that the main actors have in Canada. And I weighed that against the challenges that are faced in the British economy, the very positive challenges that are faced in reform of the financial system there that is ongoing and is in many respects leading the world, but has to be seen through. And then the real management challenge of an institution which obviously has the longest, most storied history amongst central banks, but is gaining a series of new powers and needs to be relaunched consistent with those to work as effectively as possible. So where I saw strengths here and confidence here, I weighed that against the needs and the real challenges in the UK and came to this decision. It was a difficult decision, but I think it's the right decision, and I look forward to the challenge. And I look forward to the challenge, confident in the strength that exists here in Canada.
Okay. And Minister Flaherty, I'm just wondering, when Governor Carney told you the news, how did he break the news to you, and what was your immediate reaction?
The usual thing, we had a meeting, and he told me.
I'm always bringing him.
Yeah, it is. So it's, the governor and I meet regularly. This was a bit of a different meeting. But I understand the governor's reasons for doing this, which he explained to me, and which he started to explain here. And I understand why the challenge is there and why he would choose to accept it. And we all know each other quite well in the G7 and the G20, both the governors of the banks and the ministers of finance, chancellor of the exchequer, and so on. So it's there'll be continued collegiality.
We'll go to Manon Cormalier from Le Devoir.
Mr. Flaherty, I want to bring you on another subject. On Thursday, you said that Canada will balance its budget in 2014-15, and you used the word certainly. Does it mean that your economic update was off base, or is it because you have in mind more cuts to get to that?
Yeah, I really don't want to deal with other questions. I'll just answer you quickly that in the economic update, we had a deficit of minus $1.8 billion, taking into account a $3 billion cushion. It doesn't take much to figure out that if we don't use the entire cushion, we're balanced. Thank you. Let's stay on this subject. I'd prefer that today.
We'll go to Martin Bégin from Radio-Canada.
Monsieur Carney, vous mentionnez que c'est une période critique pour les économies britanniques, européennes. C'est un moment important pour la Banque d'Angleterre. J'aimerais vous entendre sur la Banque du Canada.
Oui.
Quels sont les défis de votre successeur?
Les défis, on commence avec la responsabilité primordiale de la Banque du Canada de fournir la stabilité des prix, c'est-à-dire un taux d'inflation bas, stable et prévisible ici au Canada. Il y a encore le défi des réformes du système financier global. C'est plus profond à l'échelle mondiale qu'ici au Canada, mais la Banque du Canada, je suis absolument sûr que la Banque du Canada, avec le ministère des Finances, va contribuer très effectivement et très largement, si je peux dire, dans une large gamme des réformes financières. En même temps, il y a encore des défis de succession, de gestion de talent, comme d'habitude. Il y a des vrais défis, comme d'habitude, mais c'est une institution, la Banque du Canada est une institution avec des compétences et avec des actifs profonds. je suis absolument confiant que la banque va atteindre ses objectifs.
Monsieur Flaherty, peut-être vous, c'est un gros morceau que la banque perd avec M. Carney qui s'en va. Comment voyez-vous ça? Est-ce que ça va être... Est-ce qu'il va y avoir un problème? Est-ce qu'il va y avoir un gap avec M. Carney qui s'en va? Allez-vous être capable de bien le remplacer?
Ce n'est pas un gap. Le gouverneur va continuer seulement comme gouverneur du Banque du Canada pour plus de 6 mois, au 1er juin 2013. Nous allons continuer pendant les prochains 6 mois, comme nous avons eu.
Oui.
We'll go to Annie Dufour from Tevia.
Yeah, Mr. Flaherty, on that subject, if we shall continue, while the cemeteries are full of people that are irreplaceable, but nevertheless, some are more difficult to replace than others.
That's very poetic. No, that's not. Oh, that's not a wish.
No, my father taught me that, though. Nevertheless, what exactly do we owe? Because we owe, Mr. Flaherty is being asked by England, he's not from England, to be the governor of their bank. So obviously they see that he's done something quite well with the bank here in Canada. So what would you say, what percentage of the good economic governance in Canada do you think that we owe him? Exactly what do you think that we owe him here in Canada in terms of good banking governance? How would you evaluate it? Tell me what we owe him.
Well, I wouldn't dare to attribute. No, I wouldn't, because it wouldn't be fair to the various participants in the system, the Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions, the Department of Finance, of course, the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada, of course, the Bank of Canada. They're a group of important people who work hard on macroeconomic issues in Canada, and of course, the governor has played a very major part of that.
But what's specific to him?
Well, monetary policy, inflation, the fact that the governor has managed the issues for which he has been responsible, for which he is responsible, very well over the course of the past 5 years. Canada has shone, relatively speaking, in the world during the period of time in which Governor Carney has served as the governor of the Bank of Canada.
Mr. Carney, really quick en français. Monsieur Carney, qu'est-ce qu'ils vous ont demandé à la Banque d'Angleterre? Qu'est-ce qu'ils vous ont dit qui les avait vraiment le plus impressionnés de votre bilan canadien comme gouverneur de la Banque du Canada? Qu'est-ce qui est spécifiquement canadien qu'ils vous ont demandé d'exporter à la Banque d'Angleterre?
C'est plus une question pour le chancelier de Grande-Bretagne que moi, mais c'est pas, je ne suis pas exactement sûr, mais nous avons un bon record ici au Canada, un record de succès dans notre système financier. Nous avons une réputation bien accrue de coordination, de vraie coordination entre tous les dirigeants du système financier. À partir du 1er juillet, les grandes agences financières en Angleterre vont dedans la Banque d'Angleterre, en effet. Mais ce sera encore une question de bien coordonner les responsabilités afin d'avoir des stabilités, bien sûr des prix, mais surtout la stabilité financière.
We'll go to Theophilus Argyris from Bloomberg News.
Governor, it's a bit of an unconventional choice by the Bank of England to put you in that position. What do you tell the people there who are wondering why there wasn't a UK national that got the job? What do you bring to the job that someone from the UK does not or could not, or does it not matter any longer in this world that a national should govern country central banks?
Well, it's What do I bring to the role? I bring experience as the central bank governor. I mean, there's obviously I bring the experience of Canada in managing the financial system. I have reasonable experience in global financial reform and my role at the FSB, also as my role as Bank of Canada governor. I have management experience, obviously, having managed an institution where we have, as an institution, spent a great deal of time on succession planning and talent management and developing the next cadre of senior management within the Bank of Canada, at the same time as managing expenses in a manner that's consistent with the broader public service, the government's deficit reduction action plan, and so we've been able to do that and maintain performance. So I bring that experience. Look, I'm not without ties to the United Kingdom. My wife is a British and Canadian national. My children are both. I lived there for a decade. I know a lot of people in the city, in industry, in the UK, and so I think that obviously I think that I can play a constructive role as the next governor. In relaunching this institution with its new responsibilities, contributing to price stability, to financial stability, and to ensuring that the rebalancing of the UK economy, which is underway, but is seen through over the course of the next 5 years. This will be a very important transitional phase for the institution itself, the Bank of England, but above all for the British economy, and I'm very honored and excited to be able to play a role in that. But this isn't all about one individual. It's about the broader institution and the broader set of actors there.
We just have time for 2 more questioners. We'll go first to Helen Bazzetti of Le Devoir.
Moi, excuse-moi, j'ai mal compris.
Do you have a question still?
Monsieur Flaherty, in fact, I would like to come back to the question by Mr. Monier. The deficit in 14-15 will be $8 billion and not 1.8. Even if you take into consideration the $3 billion cushion, it's still a gap of about $5 billion. So how do you expect to make it come back to zero in time for the election? It's not clear to me.
Yeah, we are on track to balance in the medium term, and we always intended to balance the budget by 2015, and that's what we intend to do still.
How? That's the question, because that's not what your economic update says.
Yeah, no, I think we laid out the numbers quite clearly in the economic update. I think if you review it, you'll see that there's a $3 billion cushion each year that is allowed in the budget planning, and when that is taken into account, it will not be difficult to balance the budget in the medium term, barring, of course, shocks, economic shocks from Europe or the United States or elsewhere. And I'm sure Governor Carney will help protect us from those.
You won't get any from the UK.
And our final questioner will be Mark Kennedy from Post Media.
Mr. Carney, there are going to be Canadians who hear about this or read about this, and all they know is they have a Canadian who is the governor of their central bank who's going over to potentially do the same job across the pond. And they may say, what? For what? Is he trading up? More money? More prestige? I mean, they're going to ask themselves, I think, why are you leaving? You're a Canadian. Why are you going to do the same job for another nation?
Right. Well, thank you for the question. Look, I think let's recognize a couple of things. First, part of my role as governor has been to manage the Bank of Canada and to prepare the Bank of Canada for the moment when my term ends. My term is, I'm well into my term. I will have 18 months left in my term at the moment when I become the governor of the Bank of England. So I was never going to be the governor of the Bank of Canada forever. And part of my responsibility is to ensure that the institution has potential successors, has another cadre of management that's coming up. The government will make its decisions, but whoever the next governor is will also he or she will want to ensure that they have the support that they need going forward. And I'm very confident that that is the case today at the Bank of Canada. I would not be leaving if that were not the case today at the Bank of Canada. The second thing, as I said before, is that we have a system that works very well. It's been tested under the biggest economic shock and financial shock that any of us will ever see in our lifetime. And it has passed that test. The bonds are stronger, the coordination is stronger, the tools we use, we've developed new tools and we've used them effectively. So again, the system here is strong, and we've made it stronger, and I think we owe credit to Minister Flaherty as well, very much for that, and I played some role in enhancing that. Why would I then go? Okay, my term's ending. I'm going to have to do something else, okay? There's the first thing. Secondly, more seriously, this is a major challenge. It's a major opportunity. It's very important for the global economy that the UK does well, that it succeeds in this rebalancing of their economy, that the reform of the British financial system is completed. It's well advanced, but it needs to be completed. It's very important, obviously, for Canada, as we've talked many times in this very room, that the European transition comes to fruition. I will play a role there. I will continue to play the role in the Financial Stability Board that I have as chairman. The Banque du Canada and other Canadian agencies will continue to play a very important role there. So I see this as a challenge, and I'm going to where the challenges are greatest because I'm confident that the strengths are as deep and as broad as they are here in Canada. And I could not do it any other way. But given that set of circumstances, that's why I'm doing it.
Just to follow up to the minister then on the same theme, he makes the point, Mr. Carney does, of this being a transition period, not only for the Bank of England, but for the British economy. How critical is it to us as taxpayers, to you as policymakers and as governor, people in government, that he not mess it up over there, that he do the right thing, and that he fix the British economy and the European economy so that you've got money to spend here?
I've worked with the governor for a long time now, both at finance and in his role as governor of the Bank of Canada, and we've traveled a lot around the world together, and I know his capabilities, and he has demonstrated his performance capacity over time, so I have no doubt that he will do a brilliant job in his next post.
Great. Thanks very much, Mr. Carney, Mr. Flaherty. For those who would like to stick around, Guy Caron, the Deputy Finance Critic for the NDP, will be here to react. We're just going to break for a few moments to let these guys leave.
Did you get a farewell present? I haven't let him.